Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Sign. I'm here with my partners, Martin and Nichole. We're keeping this one quick. Boots on the ground recap of quarter one and what we're seeing heading into quarter two. The reason I wanted to do this, I feel like when you turn on the news, you'd think the market's falling apart, and that's really not what we're seeing. So what stood out to you most? Martin, I'll start with you working with clients this quarter.
First quarter has been an absolute blessing for the Sears Group. What I think we have done a lot better this year than what we've done last year was just pricing the home accordingly. See, there's so many ways of actually determining value for a home. You know, people that are sellers, I'm speaking on behalf of sellers, they can look at all of the search engines like the Z's and we're not going to say who they are, but you can certainly Google it and you can find out so many types of ways to determine value. You have to really dissect. You have to really get into the weeds, boots on the ground, understand how depreciation is working, and it has been real. So if you look at a lot of the algorithms, you'll see that depreciation has been, unfortunately, a bad thing, and it's caught up for 2025, and it's showing in 2026, but a lot of sites will still show 2025 numbers. The heart of the teacher. We've said this many years. As long as you have the heart of the teacher and you can convey to the consumer what they're seeing is not true, and as long as you try to stay within that business model of 30 to 60 days, we have shown proof that the rate of return for sellers is 5x, 3x more than it would be last year. In other words, it's a hard pill to swallow, but if someone told you that your house is worth $500,000, but the market will only bear $475,000, why list it for $500,000? I know that's hard because you have you have an asset that's worth $500K, but if the market shows proof that it's worth $475,000, then you list it for $475,000 and you be firm. That's really the business model that we have done so far, and it's come out substantial, and our Google reviews are showing it.
Wonderful. Nichole, for you?
For me, I absolutely agree with Martin. One other aspect I think is really important is we are letting our sellers know that it's so important that they understand their competition, as well as they have to prepare their home beautifully. If a home needs new carpet or paint, gone are the days where we can say, oh, well, let's see what offers we get. They have to dial in their property because there are a lot of homes for sale that is their competition, and new builds, it seems to be our biggest competition right now. And so our sellers are coached from the beginning. You have to prepare your home to sell.
Yeah, there's no more. We'll just do a credit for it down the road for sure. The presentation, even when I'm showing homes to buyers, I can tell the little things that are going to, turn them off on that house and put them on to something else that they're seeing in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
it's totally a good point, Nichole. Yeah, I mean that's so much. That's so important to emphasize that. Just little things, clearing the counters, cleaning the windows, having us help stage items. I mean, I'm sure you've done this. We've all done this. We'll go to the customer's house with, blue jeans and shorts and tennis shoes and roll up rugs, help clean counters, take the trash cans out, roll up the hose, open the blind, whatever we got to do. That's the difference between just, more of a concierge type of fiduciary.
And adapting as well. We've got to adapt. I had a listing in Cantamia, and we kept getting, feedback that the living room was small, and I had seen the house when it had furniture in it, and there was a lot of furniture, let's say, in the living room, and so I knew it could hold furniture. It just maybe wasn't showing that way when it was vacant, and we put some virtual staging on, which originally we weren't going to do. We didn't think we needed it, and then next weekend we were under contract. So you just have to adapt and
sure.
and adjust as you go.
Yeah.
And just to give some context, our team's closed near 100 transactions so far year to date, and that's over close to $30 million in real estate, right, Martin?
It sure is. We're on pace right now. We certainly don't want to talk about the futures because you can only control the controllables, so to speak. But we are up about 60+% this first quarter and this first year to date than we were looking back a year ago. So things are cooking to well. We're all doing well. I'm extremely proud of all of us, and we've put in a ton of work, and it's paying off.
Who's actually moving right now in your guys' experience? What's your client base? Who's moving, and let's say, what type of houses are really moving in this market?
Well, my sellers are actually moving out of state. That's a huge demographic right now. And then buyers at open houses, most that come through are out of state visitors. And it's just been really interesting. So we're kind of having a turnover. People are leaving and then coming in. As far as my personal buyers go, they're local, who've lived here a while and who just feel like, well, now might be the time to buy because they have more leverage.
Right.
And so that's for me personally.
Yeah. My business model is a little different just because of maybe my age and how long I've been doing this. But unfortunately, the people that I sold to in 2010, 2015, they're Arizona's a transit area, so they're going back home, grandkids, whatever the case may be, downsizing, hardships, not feeling well or just want to be around family. So I get it. I mean, that's kind of the cycle of what happens in areas with master plan communities like we have a lot here in the West Valley. So that's me as far as sellers. With buyers. Secondary residents, people wanting to get into the Airbnb or the VRBO business.
Nice.
That's been a big business model. We've sold more. Nichole can probably add 2 cents on this, but we as a whole, we have sold, my goodness, more this year than we did the last 2 years of furnished homes. Just turnkey, pack your toothbrush, and all that furniture can be sold outside of escrow, which that's a lot. That's actually like majority, quite honestly. Right. Yeah.
I was showing a house to a client not too long ago, and they asked me, what percentage of homes are furnished? And I really just was taken off guard, like, oh, I don't know how many are, come furnished. But I threw out 20%, and I thought that was way too high. But then later I started thinking about it. It's probably low, actually. I've got one in Sun City Festival that's furnished as well, and it's easy move, and they're learning it's costing them the same amount to move it as just to replace it, right?
Absolutely.
So, well, good deal. I'm working with a lot of out-of-state clients as well. I think on the sellers moving out of state, buyers moving into state, but I found it interesting that it hasn't been the the typical northern states or Pacific Northwest or California that we have seen frequently, but it's Utah and Texas. So it seems like similar climates, and so I found that interesting.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day in one of our market report updates, and it was from mortgage rates, and it said the mistake isn't buying at 6%; it's waiting for 3%. And people got used to 3% like it was normal, but historically it's not. So I wanted to ask you two, are buyers starting to accept that in your experience, or are people still having a hard time with that in the market?
For me, I absolutely feel like buyers have given up waiting. They know they're not going to see really low rates. And so I think we're kind of in the normal mode where, okay, it's time to buy a house, but we have options. We can offer, a seller can offer incentives as far as help with closing costs or buy downs that really help with that rate. So it's pretty much the norm in our market. So I don't think, honestly, I haven't run into anybody waiting for the rates to go down. It's been about a year where they've just accepted this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually at a chamber after hours yesterday evening, and I was in a group discussion, just a round table with 3 appraisers, and 2 was from the central Phoenix Valley and 1 was from the west, and we all agree, and I'm not an appraiser, but I was just asked, we were just shop talking, and all 3 of them had said for the month of April, what they're seeing with supply and demand and just how housing affordability, we've been going just like in any type of asset. You can see the stock market or the S&P, it goes up and down. We have flatlined over the last 60 days, right? So I got to feel like there's enough data out there, and good agents are doing their jobs that are saying, hey, there's nothing going down. There's nothing going up. This is it. Timing is everything, and this is the time to buy the first quarter and the second quarter of 2026.
I agree, and we've interviewed a few people on the show, but it's a common term in economics is you make your money on the buy. So the buyers I'm helping right now, they're getting concessions, appraisals are coming back, a little bit over, nothing to, get too crazy about, but it's just a sense of instant equity is nice for a buyer when they're buying a house, especially when they get concessions. What's the saying all the time that we hate? Date the rate, marry the house, date the rate.
Yeah. I mean, it's true.
But yeah, so inventory is up. Buyers have more leverage, but homes are still selling when they're priced right. Roughly a quarter of homes are still going under contract in the first couple weeks, and demand has even shown some signs of life. The market didn't disappear, it just got smarter. Where are sellers messing up right now, and what are you seeing with pricing?
I can take a hit at that. Where sellers are messing up is honestly, this is no slander to our competitors, but they're just hiring the wrong company. They're hiring the wrong company, or they're hiring the wrong professional, the wrong consultant. We've said this before. We're not all created equal. 10% of us do 90% of the work. That's a fact. Lance always talks about the 13% podcast. So that is the truth. If you get 3 consultations, you're going to get 3 answers on a price on what you should list it for. And price is not everything. There's terms, conditions, and price. And the individual who is interviewing needs to really understand terms and conditions a lot of times are more important than price. Because price, if you go too high, is going to hurt you when there's a stereotype on the house 90 and 120 days down the market. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. I actually sat with a seller last weekend, and she, they had an agent that they had that was newer to the market, good friend of theirs. They wanted to, try to give him a shot. And it's just a thing that comes with experience. So this is not, a bad talk or anything, but, he had quoted them pretty high for their house, and they knew that it just didn't seem right with what the neighbors were selling for and what the neighbors were sitting for. And so they called for a second opinion, and I didn't know about this until after, but I was about $25,000-$30,000 under where they were quoted, and so they felt more comfortable with that because they knew that time was just going to work their price down further. So they, instead of the market chasing them, they rather just
Sure.
hit exactly where they should.
Yeah.
And Nichole, what about you? I mean, what's your I think we're all seeing probably the same things with pricing, but those sellers that you meet with that do have a little bit of friction when it comes to the price, how are you helping them navigate that to a common understanding so everyone's on the same page?
Well, one thing that we say a lot is, your home may appraise for this, but what the market will bear is this based on the recent comps and just our experience and what we're dealing with negotiations. So one thing that we do like to do, if the seller really truly has an exceptional property and they've put in upgrades that consumers will like, I'm not opposed to taking a listing like that's dialed, but let that seller know, if I take this listing and we price it where you want to price it, within 2 weeks, if we have not received offers or if we're not getting showings, we have to drop it because, I've done this a little while. I know how these offers are coming in. I know what the buyers are looking for, and the agents are being very aggressive. And so, there's going to be another house popping up because that's why 25% of homes sell within the first, couple weeks. Yep. Is because those savvy buyers are watching that market. And when that perfect house pops up, they're going to get it and they're not going to pay more than it's worth.
Right. 30 days, you lose 3%. That's before the contract negotiations. 60 days, you lose 6%, right? Yep. And it keeps going. So time is money.
Amen.
Yep.
What is your take on quarter two? Because we're hearing all these things that should be affecting our market and making things bad, and gas prices are going up, and the doom and gloom, but I'm just really not seeing it. It doesn't sound like our team is seeing it, right? Because we're seeing a lot more transactions than last year. I felt like last year was the year where it was like, all right, this year sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
And this year just, it feels a lot better. But we've got a lot more, I think, going on in the media and in the world in general. So I mean, what's your take on all that when you get, because we're all fielding these calls where people are, well, I'm waiting on this, war to end, or I'm waiting on this to happen. What do you tell somebody in that waiting game, quarter two coming up?
I always stick with the data, right? Like, why wait? Time kills deals. And if you can get, in other words, we have lost in the West Valley 12 to 15% so far in the last 12 months. Do you think that we could gain 6 to 10% in the next 12 months? I mean, we've seen that happen here. It's very volatile. It can, I mean, for heaven's sakes, we went up almost 45 to 55% during the COVID 2.5 years. So the average national appreciation is 4%, 4 to 5%. I honestly think we're going to get that this year. I really do. I mean, we're at a flatline position right now, and if you look at like an RPR type of data, you can see like 0.09, 1.1 in 1 month. It goes up or down. I think that we could have this conversation maybe in February of next year. And I guess when the data comes out for a West Valley or the top 17 cities in Maricopa County, and I think you're going to see majority is going to be higher appreciation. It's already showing. There's a lot of it already showing. It's not going to go down. It's like we said, the last 60 days has been flatlining, which means the trend is picking up, just like any type of indicator in assets.
Yeah. Well, and I think as we approach summer, we'll see some slowdown maybe in the active adult communities that we serve, and maybe some of the master plan communities that we have a lot of snowbirds in. But the families are still moving, and this is the best time of year for most families who have kids in school because they're out of school. So I think that, and what we've seen so far is continuing, a pretty hot pace. I know all of my listings right now are pretty active with showings, and a lot of those homes are priced well and in those family communities. But Nichole, I want to close with a question for you as we get into quarter two. I mean, where are people overthinking the market and they need to just dive in?
Well, I think just you kind of touched on that is if you have to, you can't wait for the perfect timing. There's never going to be a perfect timing. A lot of people just get lucky and hit it just right, but you have to continue to live your life, and don't put your plans on hold. If your plan is I need to move, you got to move now. Either you have a job change, or you got to get your kids in school, or you have to upsize your home because grandma is moving in, or kids coming home from college. Timing. There's always going to be something that is going to come in and throw a wrench in it. You're still going to have to move. So, don't overthink it. If you need to find a home, look for it now. Don't worry about the rate, because rates are going to fluctuate. You can always refinance if they go down, but just, buy within your budget, because there are plenty of homes to choose from right now. So,
the market is still building in a half a point or 3/4 of a point. I mean, we're not loan officers, but just looking at indicators, the market has already built in, I'm talking about Wall Street, it's already built in a half a point or 3/4 of a point by the end of this year. We got a new Fed chair coming in June, which is, soon. Could you imagine if points went down 0.75%? We're having this conversation in the fourth quarter. So what happens, everybody knows this, when rates go down, appreciation goes up. So the person who's on the sideline waiting for that half a point drop, they're going to lose $20,000 in appreciation. Okay, well, I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right. Well, it goes back to my one piece of advice to anyone who's on the fence on the buying side anyway is, is the longer you wait, just like the seller, the longer they wait, the more they're losing. What you buy the house for today is what you can't change. The interest rate can always be refinanced, as we discussed, but the concessions that are being received right now to pay for closing costs, or a rate buy down if you want to buy your rate down, but Imagine if you could just put your down payment, that you had planned for, and you could keep the additional, $6,000 in your pocket. You move into a house, there's things you're going to want to do. You're going to want to paint and, hang the curtains that you want up, and the things that make you happy, right? And why don't you take $6,000 and take a couple $1,000 or the whole entire $6,000 and go do that for yourself?
For first-time home buyers, this is amazing. I mean, you're going to get a tax deduction by having a claim of a house, and making sure that you claim that interest. That's a big deal too. A lot of people don't remember that. When you start doing your taxes and now you have something to claim, right now you're just throwing your money away. You're going to get appreciation, plus you're going to get some money. And we're certainly, full disclosure, we're not CPAs, but everybody who's a homeowner, that you get to write off your interest, and that could be a substantial amount the first 5 years.
One thing I want to add is, for sellers who are holding out for, let's say we're negotiating and they're holding out for $10,000 to $15,000 to get a little bit more. Think about this. Where's your peace of mind? Are you going to be kicking yourself that you took a little bit lower offer 6 months down the road while you're living in your home that you just bought? No, you're going to be glad that you are sitting where you're at for $10,000 to $15,000. I've had sellers say, no, my house is worth more than that, but we're so close. Let's get your home sold so you can move on and start enjoying your life and your plans that you have been dreaming about. So don't overthink the price. Think about your peace of mind, and are you going to actually achieve the goal that you set out when you decided to sell your house?
Good point.
Which is, let's sell it. Let's just not sit on it.
That's a very good point. And that's where people need to think differently. Buyers, your negotiating power is back. Sellers, they're still winning when they're priced right and they go in with good strategy. And those move up buyers, like you just said, those that are selling and upsizing or downsizing and moving on to something different are probably in the best position in the entire market right now.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting on the perfect market, you might be waiting a long time.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, quarter two is not about predicting the market. It's about understanding how to move in it. And hopefully this kind of gives you a little bit of a boost. This quick, and this was less of an analytical recap, more of a what's going on, right? Let's talk. And so to any of those that are listening that are sitting on the fence and just trying to determine what you should do, obviously your plans and your lifestyle really determines that first and foremost. But if you want to sit down and discuss the market with us, how can someone get in contact with our team, Martin?
Yes, so they can go to our website. They can contact Nichole or I. They can call the team line, which I don't know the number.
623-810-4524.
Thanks, Nichole.
And just to let everybody know, we're taking this momentum, and it's just been going really, really well. And we are scaling. So we are hiring agents as well who want to make money and who want to have some mentorship to do this job the right way. Wonderful.
You hear that, agents that are listening to this? If you are looking to join this team, I can say in my personal experience, it's changed the direction of my career completely in terms of production and just energy. I think that everything that is when you have a good attitude and you can change your attitude in a tough market to see the positive or see the opportunity that's in that market, it can really change your business. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Beyond the Sign, real conversations, real people, and real value. We'll see you next time.